Hey there! If you've managed to find this video, welcome to the channel, but you're currently watching part 7 of a multi-part review. You can find the first part through the card or the link in the description. Tension is rising, a plan to confront Sin is beginning to form, and M.I.R.A.I will be changed forever. That's right, it's time to fuck off and do optional shit! In this part of the Final Fantasy X Mega Review, I'm going to be doing as much of the post-game content as I can. This includes obtaining the remaining Aeons, attempting the super bosses, and finding and collecting the ultimate weapons, which are called celestial weapons in this game. Why am I not doing everything? Well, because if I did absolutely everything, not only would I take a stupid amount of time grinding, but I would be so unbelievably overpowered that the entire finale would be a complete joke. So next time we're going to be making a half-baked attempt at a joke. So basically my channel. But before we do any of that, we have a very important matter to attend to. The chest in MegaReview, and get the loot I oh so desire. Nice. Okay, so now we've returned to the airship, we can use it to fast travel across M.I.R.A.I, and that's going to be important because the post-game here is all over the place, and I'm not going to try fishing for the no encounters ability off of Monks and Zanarkand. So go talk with Sid, select your destination, and get ready to hear the same voice line over and over again.
Yee-haw! Here we go! Yee-haw! Here we Yee-haw! Yee-haw! Here we go!
First things first, we're going to be backtracking to previous areas to collect Jek spheres, as collecting them is how you unlock Auron's overdrives. I'd argue that the most important one is the one found by the entrance of MegaReview Woods. This sphere shows Jek in prison, seemingly because he blabbed on about being from Zanarkand. Braska offers him to join his pilgrimage, creating the ultimate trio that, according to M.I.R.A.I, can't defeat Sin. Because one person married an Elbed, the other claims to be from the sacred Zanarkand, and the last refused to marry a priest's daughter. I wonder why. The rest of the spheres contain such fun content such as Jek showing his eagerness to fight the Chocobo Eater, Braska recording a blitzball game for Jek's family, and most importantly, Jek getting struck by lightning. After collecting 3 spheres, Auron will learn Banishing Blade. It may not have the instant killing potential that Shooting Star has, but it makes up for it by looking sick as hell. It begins with Auron paying 200 Metagod points on twitch.tv/Sinno___ and swigs the jug. After finishing the button prompt, he spits it onto his blade, which allows him to channel these dark energy balls to attack his target. Now, in order for Auron to get his final overdrive, you must collect all of the spheres, and the only one I haven't found yet is in Besaid Village. And the reason for that is... I'll get around to that. Next up, we're heading to secret destinations. There are 2 ways to find them, either by searching at specific coordinates on the world map, or by inputting specific passwords. The passwords are meant to be found by decoding all the Elbed messages. I figured them out by realizing I live in the year 2025 and looked them all up. The results? 2 decent weapons. Searching the world map brings much more impressive results, like a piece of armor for Lulu that absorbs almost all elements, not that it matters because she's the motherfucker that dies to Fizz, a sword that doubles Yoshi's experience points gained, yes please, and a Dragoon Lance for Kimahri, which I swap with his Dragoon Lance. This is also how you can return to the area Yoshi woke up in after arriving in M.I.R.A.I for the first time, the Baj Temple, which houses another optional Aeon. But before we can enter the trial, we gotta get revenge on the fiend that nearly ate Yoshi. After we give the Water Squad armor with the Stone Ward ability. At this point, Wakka and Yoshi deal so much damage that this boss isn't really much of a threat. It might get a cheeky team wipe, but all that really does is delay the inevitable. Entering the trial, we find it's the least involved of them all, only requiring us to find the hidden treasure in all the previous trials in order to break the seal of the chamber. Now, if you remember, I made a big stink about not getting the treasure in Bavel's temple. Thankfully, that's not the one I'm missing, since that trial ends with an impossible to miss chest that activates the glyph here. Nope, Zanarkand is the one I missed. So it's time to go back there. And it dropped me off the campsite. It's time for a second trek through these ruins, I guess. Okay, so in order to get the treasure, you must activate the 7 Chaos Emerald white squares, which cannot be pinged like the previous ones. Probably because they're split between both rooms. Okay, now we can get the next Aeon. And it's Anima, whose faith turns out to be Seymour's mother, who became a faith in order to give her son power, which, thanks to his young, impressionable mind, only resulted in him desiring more power. By the way, there's a neat detail about Anima that I noticed after seeing her human design. Anima has a necklace that has an image of Seymour's mother, and this is held by a pair of hands that look suspiciously similar to hers, but more pale and dead-looking. It's details like this that make you realize, this Aeon is fucked up. But that's not important. What is important is my Final Fantasy X mom rant, because this game does them all so dirty. First off, the moms of all the super important characters are dead. Already a rough start for them, but they're all unnamed. I get not naming the mothers of people like Lulu and Waka since they don't have designs and aren't relevant to the story compared to the likes of Yuna's, Yoshi's, and Seymour's, but then why are these three unnamed? Their children are the main protagonist and antagonist. Those are quite literally the most important roles in practically any story, and the writers couldn't figure out a name for them? Give them all the same name for all I care. Something like, I don't know, Martha? Hell, the fate of Yuna's mom is technically optional content, and it's not even like someone related to her like Sid or Riku who tells you this. Rin is the person who does. This feels especially egregious to me personally because, like I alluded to in my opening statement of this giant review, one of my biggest childhood memories was watching my family members, particularly my mom, play this game like a bajillion times. By the way, if you happen to be watching this, hi Ma! Okay, rant over. With the Dark Aeon at our disposal, let's work on getting the final optional Aeon. As opposed to the final Aeon, because that's not final anymore. I wonder why. This Aeon is obtained in Remium Temple, where Belgemine awaits. In order to get there, we must first get a chocobo in the Calm Lands. But we can't just rent one like in Mihen. We need to train one. By talking to this NPC riding a chocobo, whose locations depend on whatever guide you read, you can ask to train a chocobo, which you do by clearing 4 challenges. Although only the first level is required. Level 1 tasks you with steering the chocobo towards the center without losing too much time. Level 2 makes you dodge blitzballs that appear out of thin air, while level 3 adds in that fucking bird that I hate. The final level is a race against the chocobo trainer. Hitting a balloon will subtract 3 seconds from your time, but getting hit by a bird will add the same amount to your time. After finishing, whoever ends with the lowest time wins. This sounds simple enough, but controlling this oversized chicken is awkward as fuck. The best way I can describe it is that it functions similarly to tank controls, meaning that hitting left doesn't mean you'll immediately turn left. But I also think you automatically face forward after a bit. I can't say for sure, since I didn't stick around with this minigame for too long. This led to me getting hit more often than I'd like to admit, because I tried to quickly dodge in the opposite direction, only to collide face first into the object I was hoping to evade. With Chocobo in hand, we can make our way to Remium Temple, a long abandoned place after the Calm Lands became a common spot to fight Sin. Belgemine awaits, who has a secret to reveal. She is yet another unsent. You gotta be kidding me. He's unsent, you're unsent, I'm unsent! Are there any other unsent I should know about?
Meow.
I'm out of here!
Before she can be sent, Belgemine must be first fought 8 times, 1 for each Aeon in the game. But technically you can just ignore her and head towards the door to the chamber. Getting inside is another story, since it's blocked off with a seal. In order to break the seal, you need 2 items, one of which you get by capturing all of Gagazet's fiends, which I managed to do while progressing normally, and the other is by beating the story Aeons that Belgemine calls, which will be a complete joke if you use Anima, who has access to many status moves, a bunch of spells, and absolutely ludicrous stats that shreds through all of her Aeons in no time at all. Once you take up Bahamut and take a detour to the monster arena to get your Gagazet reward, you'll have both keys to get the last Aeons, the Magus Sisters. And if you thought Anima was busted, you aren't ready to see the chaos that these 3 are about to unleash. The Magus Sisters are the absolute best Aeons in the entire game, and it's pretty easy to see why. It's because they're a 3-in-1 package deal. Individually, they're pretty comparable to Anima. I mean, just look at how badly they beat up the poor thing. She didn't even have a chance to use her overdrive. However, despite this Aeon being 3 powerful party members, they come with a pretty impactful downside. They're persona party members, meaning the only thing you can do is give them general orders like, use physical skills, cast offensive spells, and use supportive skills. So if you want to set up defensive buffs, all I have to say is good fucking luck, and I hope for your sake that they don't decide to take a break, because they're also your level 100 Charizard transferred from Pokemon Fire Red. Now that we have all the Aeons, it's time for us to collect the Celestial Weapons, but before we can, we need to get a certain item. Luckily for us, it's nearby right now. Outside Remium, there are 2 Chocobo. Interacting with the one on the right lets you initiate a race with the other, and completing it will grant you the Cloudy Mirror. In order to decloud the mirror, you gotta do a quick side quest in M.I.R.A.I Woods. You see, there's this mother and child standing near the entrance, and they can't seem to find the father, who's like 3 rooms away. After bringing him back, we find that the child has left for some reason. He's on this sparkly path right in front of this flower thing. Using the Cloudy Mirror will transform it into the Celestial Mirror, the tool required to obtain the Celestial Weapons. Thankfully, we already meet the requirements to collect most of them. Yoshi's requires us to complete the Chocobo training and go to the slope by the northwest corner of the Calmlands. Yuna's is in the chest by the Monster Arena, Lulu's is in Baj Temple, and Riku's is in a hidden area accessible by inputting the password Godhand. For the PS2, Orange requires a couple extra steps, needing to grab a rusty sword in the area outside the Cavern of the Stolen Faith, and then take it to a hidden area in Mushroom Rock in a very specific way. Not because of the weapon, but something else. The remaining ones are Waka's, obtained by placing top 3 in a Blitzball tournament, which I'll get to later, and Kimari's is located in the Thunder Plains, a place I'm trying to avoid for reasons. Now, that sounds pretty easy and not worthy of the title of Celestial, but the catch here is that all of them start with the ability No AP, which blocks the character from gaining experience points, effectively making them worthless. In order to replace that ability and gain better ones, you need to find 2 upgrade materials. Doing this will give the abilities Break Damage Limit, allowing the character to deal more than 9,999 damage, Triple Overdrive, increasing the overdrive rate by 3 times, Double AP, doubling the experience points gained, and a unique ability to that character's weapon. Now, to choose which ones to upgrade. Right off the bat, we're ignoring Lulu's because dodging 200 lightning bolts would be both boring to watch and grind, doubly so if you have the No Encounters ability, which I already explained why I'm not getting. Yoshi's is another I'm avoiding, as one of the materials requires us to beat the final Chocobo training mission with a time of 0 seconds. No! I feel like I did enough of that already. The last one I'm ignoring is Orin, since the method to get one of his upgrade items requires us to beat 10 different special arena encounters. Quite the convoluted method. This leaves Yuna and Riku, so let's start with Yuna's weapon. The first material, I found all the way back in the first session, in this hidden part of the Beach Pasade. The second one requires us to fight Belgemine instead of optional Aeons. After doing so, you need to send Belgemine to obtain the other material. And with the power of the Magus Sisters and Anima, that is no problem at all. In order to upgrade a weapon, you need to bring it to the same flower in M.I.R.A.I Woods. The unique ability for Yuna is 1 MP cost, which as you can probably guess, reduces the MP cost of all abilities and spells to 1, allowing you to spam high MP cost spells like Curaga and Holy to your heart's content. By the way, once you get Holy, you can throw that dinky black mage spell in the trash. Or hell, go even further beyond and use a Friend Sphere to teleport Yuna to Lulu's Spear Grid path and buff her damage output even more! Let's move on to upgrading Riku's weapon. Both of the materials can be found in Beaconell, one of which is so easy to find I grabbed it when I first showed up. The other involves a really long side quest. So the material is located in this area blocked by an intense sandstorm. In order to make it go away, you need to collect Cactar spheres and place them into the stone slab. Interacting with it will spawn the required Cactar and give you a hint to where it appeared. After finding it, you can attempt to capture it in a game of red light green light. Luckily, if all you care about is the weapon, you don't need to win the game. After returning the sphere, the next Cactar spawns, and you repeat the process all over again. About 8 times. Yeah, this side quest in particular takes a long time to complete, more so if you don't have the No Encounters ability, and by the time I finished it, I was ready to move on to something else. Once upgraded, Riku's unique ability is Gillionaire, which doubles the gil dropped by enemies. But while I moved on in the recording session, I never got into how I got top 3 in a Blitzball tournament, so let's jump back into that. So, confession time. Back when I was explaining stats in the Blitzball section of this review, I completely missed the stat, Speed, which affects how fast a player swims. This is important because now you can hire Brother, one of, if not the fastest character in Blitzball. If you want to cheese games, you can rush the goal with Yoshi, use the Jack shot, pass the ball to Brother, and stall the entire match by swimming in circles. Just try to focus on the minimap instead of the actual camera, lest you attempt to correct yourself and let your opponents catch up and force an incredibly unfair encounter.
Oh no!
Or don't. You might carry the ball for so long that the AI just sort of bugs out and gives up. That being said, some teams just straight up have the better stats, to the point that not even the Jack shot will work. Case in point, the Ronso Fangs. Thankfully, I battled these guys during the finals, so that left me in second place, thus granting me Waka's ultimate weapon. Shame I didn't win the tournament. If I did, I would have unlocked a new overdrive for Waka, and I'm not going to upgrade the weapon because one of the materials requires me to play more Blitzball, and this was already enough of a time sink for this recording session. And for our last stop, let's attempt a super boss, and I have my sights on the one blocking the way to Besaid Village, thus allowing me to collect the final Jack Sphere and unlock Auron's ultimate overdrive. After escaping Bevel, certain areas in the game will force you to fight one of the Dark Aeons, superpowered versions of the in-game Aeons, and the one in Besaid is, unsurprisingly, Dark Valefor. So let's jump right into this fight! Okay, for our actual last stop, let's take a brief look at the endgame dungeon, Omega Ruins, filled with some of the strongest fiends in the game, located in the far eastern side of Spira, featuring a couple of super bosses of its own, one of which is Omega, a monk who was banished over 700 years ago, and as a result, has turned into a powerful fiend. Considering how badly I got fucked up by Dark Valefor, I'm not going to jump in here for very long. Like I said, I want to keep the integrity of the finale somewhat in check. I will at the very least highlight the fact that unlike every other area, the map here needs to be revealed manually, and has these sets of chests, one of which contains treasure, while the other contains a forced enemy encounter. Overall, probably the best place in the game to grind sphere levels, doubly so if you have a weapon with a double AP ability. But I feel like I've dabbled with enough of the postgame that I feel like I'm ready to take on Sin. See you next time.